Hey everyone, so we have a huge project underway back here. We are going to terrace our backyard space so that I can have more space to grow vegetables. Currently, I am growing in these 3 raised beds, and as you can see behind me, we have a ton more land, but we have a pretty severe slope, and so it's unusable right now, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to turn it into usable vegetable garden space. So you can see the space is currently not growing anything. There's some weeds, a little bit of Bermuda grass. We mowed it for a couple years, but really we could use this whole space to grow lots more food. Vegetable gardens need to be flat because we want the water to soak directly into the soil and not run off. And also on a slope like this, we would lose a lot of soil to rainwater and erosion. So the plan is to create 2 level tiers back here out of a dry stack native limestone and 2 gravel paths with some steps on either end.
We hired a professional landscape construction company called Palomino Landscaping to install the design that we sketched for them. The contractor and I discussed possible materials for the raised beds, and I initially wanted cedar, but due to the finished height of the beds and the increased cost of cedar, we settled on limestone, which is found abundantly throughout Central Texas, and we also had some existing walls made out of limestone, so we thought that this would tie it all together well. The first day, the landscapers marked out the beds and the paths and stairs, and then they staked out the final height of the beds based on the existing slope of the yard. The first layer of stone was set in cement to get a nice solid base to build on, and then each layer after that was just dry set.
Well, it's the end of day 5, and I want to show you the progress that the landscapers have made. I'll give you a little tour. Here we go. We can walk up to the back garden and see the awesome limestone retaining walls and vegetable beds now. They're beautiful. I love them. We have some level growing space now and level paths. There's some nice soil and compost blend that they brought in, some rice hulls and pecan shells and other organic materials. So great for growing veggies. This area here is going to be some steps that they haven't quite done yet. Another exciting thing are these 2 level pathways. It feels so good to be able to walk on some level ground up here. There's some irrigation here that's going to be tapped into the irrigation below, and it will run up to the beds. I'll take you down the paths. These will be gravel and some stairs going up. You can see this is how they're bringing in materials here through the neighbor's back fence. We have the only way up to this garden is steps, and so they like to use the level yard in the back and come through the fence, and they put the fence up every night. Tomorrow we finish the steps and bring in gravel for the pathways up top. A little seating area over here. Looks like a construction zone now, but one more day and it should be all finished.
You've probably heard this next bit before, but it's true. The soil in the raised beds is the most important part of the vegetable garden. Without excellent soil, your vegetable garden just won't thrive. So we made sure to get really good vegetable-specific soil blend from a local yard, and the landscapers brought it in and filled the beds and mixed it with the existing native soil. Then they extended the drip irrigation into the 2 raised beds and worked on the 2 sets of stairs. Finally, they began to work on the gravel paths and the gravel seating area up at the top of the garden.
The landscaping is almost done. They have to finish the paths and a little bit more gravel, but the planting beds are done, and so we are excited to get planting. So we're gonna plant up 1 bed while we're on the weekend before the landscapers come back. I have the seeds that we've chosen and a few starts. Right now it is almost October in Austin, so it is time to plant our cold season crops. So we have carrots and peas and cilantro and a plan for planting and some transplants of cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower. So let me show you how we're going to plant up these awesome beds.
The first thing we did was build trellises for the snap peas to climb on. We used bamboo stakes that we find growing near a creek by our house. I use bamboo a lot in the garden, so it's always good to have it around, and the kids like to play with it too. You can build small trellises like this out of found objects, or let peas climb on cattle panel sections, or you can buy fancy obelisks at garden centers. Next, I set out the transplants based on their spacing requirements. It's always a good idea to sketch out a plan for the garden, or you can just wing it, but make sure that all the plants have enough space to grow. Crowded plants do not grow very well. After we plant all the transplants, I start on the veggies that prefer to grow from direct seeding. Plants like beets, carrots, peas, and some flowers and herbs prefer to be grown straight from their seed into the ground. I encourage my kids to garden with me for many reasons, but sometimes planting starts all day tends to feel a little bit too much like work and not so much fun. But I know that if they're involved from the beginning, that they'll be more engaged as the garden grows, and they'll get really excited to harvest and eat the food that they have grown. Seeds are absolutely magical to me, and looking at the different shapes and then bearing them and eventually seeing them sprout is pretty exciting. And kids love it as well. So go plant some seeds with your kiddos.
Well, the backyard is done. I am so in love with it. Let me show you what we did. The thing that I'm most excited about is to have some usable gardening space. Before, with the sloping, grassy weeds, I just couldn't do anything back here. It was even hard to walk. So now we have these beautiful 5-foot by 15-foot long veggie beds with drip irrigation. In the front bed, my kids and I already planted. We started with some arugula seed, some sugar snap peas, brassicas like kale and broccoli and cauliflower, some fennel, and I've added some flowering plants like borage and calendula. So those will all be growing in the next few months. The back bed we haven't quite planted yet. I have some plans for rooting vegetables like carrots and beets and radishes, some of my favorite fall crops. On the other side of the beds, this is an area that my kids like to play in and swing in, so we're gonna leave that kind of bare dirt, see what happens there. But I did put some Berkeley sedge ground cover down below, and that will fill in about 18 inches, and it'll be a nice mounding ground cover. The paths are Black Star gravel, super easy to walk on, low maintenance. And at the end of this side of the garden, I've started a blackberry patch. I just planted a couple blackberries and hopefully we'll have a lot more growing there. I hope you enjoyed watching the transition of our backyard, and I hope you got some ideas about what to do with a super sloping, unusable backyard. You can turn it into a beautiful garden, and we're really excited to watch the garden grow.